There are not many, if any, communities in the U.S. who have witnessed the same amount of reduction in violent crimes in the last 10 years as the city of Southfield. Southfield Acting Mayor Donald Fracassi, in his recent State of the City address, also touted the city's crime reduction as one of the major achievements of his community.
Last year, violent crimes were down 25%, and over the last 8 years, they have decreased 72%. For those who want to say that there's crime in Southfield, yes, we have a little bit, but don't forget, 72% over 8 years is unbelievable.
Police Chief Hawkins has been with the force since 1990 and became chief in 2012. We recently had a chance to sit down and talk with him.
You know, we've got some great news with our crime statistics. The FBI just published the 2013 crime statistics for all municipalities across the country. And we received some excellent news. And we found that our crime statistics, the violent crime and the property crimes in the city of Southfield, decreased dramatically for the 8th consecutive year. And so our goal last year was to reduce our violent crime in the city by 20%. And it turned out that violent crime decreased in the city during 2013 by 27%. And so it was some great news. This year, we did something a little different. And somebody on the staff decided to go back and look back 10 years to see what's happened with violent crime in the city of Southfield. And it turned out, we received some astonishing news when we went back 10 years. Because it turned out that violent crime over the last 10 years in the city of Southfield decreased by 76%. And to put that into perspective, over that same period of time, violent crime across the country decreased by about 14 or 15%. So there's this perception that crime is increasing across the country, but in fact, crime is decreasing. But at a clip of around 14 or 15% during that 10-year period of time. But over that same period of time, crime decreased by 76% in the city of Southfield.
Hawkins said, based on the input he gets from the residents, his community is more interested in fairness of law enforcement than the race of the police officers.
The Southfield Police Department is comprised of approximately 85% white, about 13% African American, and the rest we have Chaldean and Hispanic officers as well. The city of Southfield is over 70% African American and about 25% white, and the others are Chaldeans and Hispanics in the city. But here's an interesting thing when we talk about those types of statistics. In local law enforcement agencies across the country, African Americans comprise approximately 12% of local law enforcement agencies. And the African American population in the United States is somewhere around 13% or so. So really, there is representation at a national level with African Americans in local law enforcement agencies as a whole. So the challenge is to increase the diversity, and it's not just racial diversity, but it's gender diversity, it's diversity of thought, and all those types of things in the mid-size or smaller agencies. And we're doing a number of things to do that. And again, the racial composition of the Southfield Police Department is about 13% or so African American. So we're reflecting what's happening across the country. But there are still some things that we can do. We're recruiting women. We're recruiting minorities. We're recruiting individuals who typically would not be interested in a law enforcement career. Individuals who may have been interested in becoming an engineer or an attorney or an architect. And we want to expose our law enforcement agency to that type of diversity as well. We work very closely with our school system. Right now we have full-time school resource officers assigned to all 3 high schools. And they service not just the high schools, but if there are issues in the middle schools or elementary schools, they can provide a service there as well. But they're assigned in the schools full-time every single day. And so they attend PTA meetings, they attend disciplinary hearings, they attend staff meetings in the schools. So they're very much involved with what's happening in the schools. So it's a very respected program. It's long-lasting, and we will continue this relationship going forward in the future. And also, we have a number of programs that we run through our schools. We created this program called Girls Night Out. And again, it's a teenage girl self-awareness seminar, a series of them, in which we invite the teenage girls in our community and their parents and or guardians. And we put on a 2 or 3 hour seminar that teaches the young ladies about self-awareness concepts. There's a self-defense component, albeit very small, but that's a part of it as well. But it's not so much the physical part. It's about giving young ladies in our community ideas if they're going to the local CVS or something like that to get some toothpaste or something. When they park their cars, what types of things should they be looking for before they exit? When they're leaving a friend's house at 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, and you're approaching your car or you're just leaving the house, what types of things should you be looking for and be aware of? What happens if the young ladies are a victim of a crime? We give them some advice and some pointers on how to survive if some encounter like that occurs. So it's something that we're very, very proud of, and it's something that I think is very beneficial to our young ladies in the community. We've got a youth police academy. In that, we hold that. It's a 1-week academy for individuals, boys and girls, between the ages of 14 and 19. And it's a 1-week academy, typically held a week or two after school is let out. And they go through a kind of a teenage boot camp. It's a lot of physical parts of it. They're doing push-ups, they're doing a lot of running, they're learning about law enforcement. Role playing is a big part of it. Mock traffic stops, mock encounters with, as we'll have the officer play a person that's simply walking down the street, and we have the youth, they're playing the role of a police officer. So they get a little bit about, feeling the dynamics from a different perspective. So it's something that's worked out really well for us. They learn how to draft resumes and how to complete a job application. And so that is something else that we're very, very proud of. And the youth that go through this program are youth that follow us, that we follow them, throughout their high school careers and beyond, and maintain this relationship. When residents of a community feel that they are connected to their police department, they have a tendency to call the police department when things are out of order, or when there's something unusual that they see in their communities, because they know that they're going to get a response that's rapid and a response that's professional. We created 3 programs 2 years ago that are community outreach programs. And the first was a Citizens Police Academy. The second was a Youth Police Academy that I talked about earlier. And the third was a Police Chiefs Citizens Advisory Board. And these are all community outreach programs that allows us to have a up-close and personal relationship with the residents and visitors in this community, so that we can find out directly from the folks who live and visit here, without a filter, what's happening and what ideas they have for resolving some of the issues. The Police Chiefs Citizens Advisory Board in particular, because this advisory board is a cross-section of residents and visitors and people who work in this community who meet with the police chief once a month for an hour or a couple hours or whatever it is, to simply talk about things that are happening in the community. And there's a national program that's called Coffee with a Cop. And so we kind of piggybacked on that concept. and started one in the city of Southfield. And so we had the first one, must have been about 3 months ago, and it was overwhelming success. It exceeded my expectations. We were at a local business, a local Tim Hortons, and we invited anybody from the community that wanted to come, and we had a heavy turnout. And it allowed me and my staff to really have an informal dialogue with members of the community. And so we have a retired Southfield police officer who now works part-time with us as our neighborhood association coordinator. And this person is responsible for maintaining communication with all of the neighborhood associations in the city. And so this person goes to all of the meetings, shares information with the members during their meetings, takes input and suggestions and concerns from the residents during those meetings, and brings those concerns back to the police department so we can make the appropriate adjustments if necessary. And we've had this person in place for, I think, the last 4 years or so. And it really allows us, it's another mechanism for us to kind of keep our pulse on the community. We've changed how we do things based on input that we've received in this advisory board. We've modified others, we've added, we've taken away some things. The key question is really, do residents and visitors in this community feel safe?
No.
Do they feel secure? And that's really what we're striving for. It's making sure that people who live and work and play in this community feel safe and secure. Right now, we're in the process of changing the type of officers that we recruit into police work. 25 years ago when I started, society wanted something different out of police officers. Back then, they wanted a police officer to come in and take control and to solve problems for people. Back then, I can remember being a young police officer, being a rookie police officer, and I walked into the locker room, and one of the first things the veteran officers asked me was, "Rookie, how many push-ups can you do?" Others would ask, "Rookie, how many fights have you been in?" Others would ask, "Rookie, how fast are you?" See, all of those things were important to society and police officers. It was about strength. It was about speed. It was about being dominant. But fast forward now 20 or 25 years later, and society wants something very much different than police officers. Residents and visitors in the community don't want officers to solve their problems for them. They want officers to help them to resolve issues. And it's a nuance that's much different. And I tell my staff all the time that today, in my opinion, the most important skill for a young police officer to have is interpersonal communication skills at a high level. And so I'm not so much interested in how many fights a new officer has been in. I'm more interested in how many fights has that officer avoided. I'm not so interested in how strong and how many push-ups and bench presses that a new recruit can perform. I'm more interested in how strong is that new recruit's interpersonal skills.
Well, that's it for this edition of Safe and Secure. To see more video about the Southfield Police and Fire Departments, go to thecityofsouthfield.com.
Or download the free Spot Southfield app and watch Cable 15's coverage of everything Southfield. Remember, we're looking out for you.